Live with CDP Sports Talk, a weekly sports and entertainment podcast sponsored by Barry Cullen Chevrolet. Live on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, and LinkedIn. And on audio via Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, Spotify, Anchor FM, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, Radio Public, and TuneIn. Now, here's your host, Chris Palme.
Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to Season 14, Episode 3, overall 718 of Live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk Show, brought to you by our friends at Barry Cullen Chevrolet Dealership. They're located at 905 Woodlawn Road West in the Guelph Automall. Check out their website, barrycullen.com, for the newest selection of new and pre-owned GM vehicles, along with their great selection of all-electric vehicles, EVs, or Cadillac vehicles as well. You can call the dealership at 519-824-0210 and tell them Chris Palme sent you, or you can email them at info@barrycullen.com. Barry Cullen Chevrolet Dealership has been family-run and operated here in the city of Guelph since 1969 and has been a proud sponsor advertiser of this show since September of 2022. I hope everyone is doing well on this Tuesday, June 9th, 2026. It started out cool here this morning. Then we had showers for a couple hours, and now it's back to being hot and humid here in southern Ontario. But I'm looking forward to my guest today here on this Tuesday, June 9th, 2026. This is going to be her second appearance and her first in 9 months. And we're going to bring her on. She is the founder of she's the founder of Olive and Grace Leadership out of Florida, and her name is Flo LaBrado. Pardon me, guys. I'm still battling a cold, so we're going to bring on Flo LaBrado right now. 1 second. Hello, how are you, Flo?
Hi, Chris. I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm okay. I'm still at the end of a cold. I picked up a cold about a week ago, and it's kind of just been lingering. So I went 3 years without a cold, and now I've had 2 in the last 2 months.
That's a miracle. I think I get one at least twice a year.
So I've been pretty lucky. But I am feeling better. But it's just it's affected my voice and all that. But I think I should be able to get through our show. So I want to say, Flo, thank you so much for coming on a second time. And our first appearance was last September 2025.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me. I love this show. I love your show because it's so laid back and you bring so many topics and just so many just important things about life. But it's super chill. So thank you. Happy to be here.
Well, thank you. And it's the guests that make a great show. And as much as I love sports, I really like being able to be diverse with guests and topics as well.
Love it. I'm here for it.
By the way, how is your furry friend doing in Florida? How things in Florida too, by the way?
Oh, they are doing well. They are, my 11-year-old puppy is happy. And then my now 2-year-old puppy is super happy. She's finally starting to calm down a little bit, just a little bit.
Dogs are number one, and I volunteer at a local humane society. So twice a week I walk dogs and I fundraise for them as well. Dogs and cats have been a big part of my life.
If it has furs or feathers, I love it.
They give you unconditional love.
They sure do.
But otherwise, how are you doing otherwise?
And well, so as you know, because you and I chatted a bit about this, I just completed a really big change in my portfolio of work, and which has opened up some space and time in my life. And I'm so excited about that.
Can you tell us a little bit about your experience of working with T-Mobile and why you decided to move on?
Yeah, happy to. And so last time we met, we talked about, as you know, I've had this leadership coaching practice for a few years now, and which meant that my portfolio of work was really full. And so I had my leadership role at T-Mobile. I also served my leadership and career development coaching clients. I also write. So it was just a lot of things. And I tend to make decisions that are rooted in my purpose, which I'm about human connection and love. That's my what drives me, what inspires me. And there was a time of organizational change, and it just felt like a really good time for me to make my exit. And I'm so excited because as much as I've loved working at T-Mobile almost 3 decades, it just felt like it was time to create more space, to be able to volunteer and serve in different ways, and also to have more time to invest in my leadership coaching work.
And sometimes in life, when it's time. And I know with myself, I was in my other career for 23 and a half, almost 24 years. And during the pandemic, I got a taste of the broadcasting bug, and eventually ended up in a work divorce on both sides. And I have no regrets. And that former career has kind of helped me transition into the media radio career.
And that's how it is. There are, and I do want to be very mindful and sensitive to that. As technology continues to change even faster, organizations are changing, and there are people whose roles are being impacted or eliminated, and that is really, really tough. So I do want to pause and acknowledge that. At the same time, when there are changes, it is an opportunity for us to reevaluate, to experiment, to reconsider what we really want to do. I'm fortunate in that for years, I've been very clear about my purpose, about my values, about the way that I want to contribute in the world. And so my grounding is based on that. And as change and opportunities emerge, I can use that grounding to help me decide where to step forward, where to sit tight. And I'm so grateful for the career that I had at T-Mobile, is where I grew up as a leader. I got to learn so much about technology, about customer experience, where people and technology intersect. I love that space, and I'm so thankful for that.
I wanted to get your thoughts too on the impact on AI. Do you believe AI is shrinking the workforce?
I don't think it's necessarily shrinking the workforce. I think it is definitely changing the workforce. There's work that is very manual, that everyone has to do, right? And AI and automation and different digital technologies create an opportunity to use the technology to take over some of the tasks that are more routine, and allow people to have more time and space available for creative work, for critical thinking, for those kinds of things. Now, the challenge with that is that as AI is becoming not just a feature, but part of how we work, that people are now being challenged with shifting from doing as many tasks to learning how to use the technology to, in a sense, automatically delegate tasks, to freeing themselves up to think, to explore, to build relationships. And that is a different skill set than being the one who writes requirements or creates documents or codes hands-on. In today's world, what we're starting to see is that people who learn how to use artificial intelligence and use the technology as their almost like an assistant, or someone that, or not someone, excuse me, but something that they can rely on for the work that requires less deep thinking, those individuals are the ones that are going to thrive more. That said, I also see that AI is as it's changing work, it's also creating an opportunity for us to return more to our human work. AI does not have empathy. There are certain things it cannot do, that it cannot understand. And so that's where we as humans thrive. Having the opportunity to be face to face with someone, or even virtually over Zoom or whatever, and listen and feel and sense what is happening, that deep listening, adapting connection is still deeply human, and something that cannot be traded away. And so in a way, having AI take some of those tasks is giving us some time and space back to do the work that uniquely as humans that we can do.
Flo, I wanted to get your thoughts on this. Do you find that empathy and communications and listening are shrinking these days too?
Oh, I think so. And I think they're shrinking. And as they're shrinking, we're starting to notice that we miss them. And as complexity continues to increase, uncertainty continues to increase, there's this pressure that leaders and organizations and individuals in general feel to go faster, to adapt faster, to do more work, almost like as a mitigation to the fear and uncertainty. And unfortunately, one of the corners that I often see being cut first in the name of speed is that deep listening. That deep listening, that spending the time with someone to really connect, to put yourselves in their shoes, to experience and extend compassion. And that is, unfortunately, those are the corners that we're cutting. At the same time, we're seeing that that employees are less engaged and managers are becoming less engaged and disconnected from work. And that's starting to show the cracks of the corners that have been cut in recent years. And there's like a call here for leaders and organizations to invest in creating the space and time for that deep listening and human connection that allows people to trust each other and feel engaged in the workplace again.
One thing I've learned about listening skills are huge in media, but I was at a Niagara Falls Comic Con. That was the first one I've ever went to on Friday, and I interviewed a celebrity, Peter Felicelli, I think is his name. He's been in a number of movies. He's now a TV producer and director. After the interview, he actually thanked me for doing a good job, and he said, what I was impressed with you was not your professionalism, but also your listening. You were listening to my answers and responses, and I think listening skills are just as important, if not more, than communicating, talking skills.
Yeah. And listening is part of communication, because we often think of communication as person A says something to person B. But the person A saying something is only a part of the communication. Another component is person B receiving that communication. And then the third piece is the shared understanding that happens between person A and person B. So when we think of communication or effective communication being as I am sharing information with someone else, that is just me acting as a communicator, but it is not necessarily the fullness of communication. There's the deep listening that is required, listening to what is said, listening to what is not said, listening to what is happening in the space between the two people. And we can feel the energy. Even virtually, when two or more people exchange information, there is an energy that is created and that is supported or even changed by the ongoing dialogue. And all of that is part of effective communication and deep listening that people need so that they can feel heard, they can feel seen, they can feel more comfortable to trust and participate in meaningful communication and shared dialogue.
And that's my role as a talk show host, either with my 3 virtual shows, or like today, I went to a professional football training camp or practice. They're done training camp, and I was able to speak to a coach and player. And before we go live, I just talk to them, shoot the shit with them, make them feel comfortable. And basically, we had good interviews, and it's how you talk to people too, how you approach them, and you want people to feel comfortable, whether you're in a company or whether you're doing what I'm doing. You always want to make your clients or guests feel very comfortable when you talk to them, and you also don't want to make them uncomfortable or make them kind of not want to talk to you.
Yeah, and there's I think there's something there to be said about comfort and discomfort, because having a connection, a meaningful conversation does take some vulnerability, and vulnerability can be uncomfortable. And maybe there's a balance there of enough discomfort to create, to extend, to be a little bit more vulnerable, but then also not crossing beyond a point where discomfort becomes limiting in the communication and in the conversation and the connection. So there's a space there that feels a little bit risky, but where we can tolerate that risk and engage in good conversation between 2 or more people. And something that can help us with tolerating that risk is extending a little bit of trust, and then also earning the trust to continue to be part of that dialogue.
Flo, have you thought about writing a book in the future?
It's a funny question because I've been asked that same thing twice in recent months,
And it's probably me.
And it sounds interesting. Like, I can't imagine writing a book because right now it doesn't feel like something that is calling my name. But you never know. You never know. One of my values is openness, and it's about being open to people and possibilities and the future. And so you never know. But at this point, I'm really enjoying my coaching work.
Have you thought about maybe a once a month podcast?
Oh my gosh, I did think about a podcast once a month. But in the meantime, what I do have a newsletter that I used to write monthly, and now I write every other week. So that gives me an opportunity to share ideas, whether it's about personal stories and emerging issues in the leadership and professional space. And so that is giving me sort of an outlet. But I have not gone beyond just initial thoughts about a podcast.
Well, if you ever do decide in the future, just let me know, because I'd be glad to support you or give you some advice.
Thank you. I would need all the advice because I have no idea how to start or continue a podcast.
Well, I didn't know that either 7 years ago, but I managed to do it. So
Here we are.
I like calling it pay it forward. Whatever career you do in life, I think it's good to pay it forward to others.
I agree. You're so generous, Chris.
Try to be. By the way, I always look at my other career. It was time to leave, and I have no regrets, but I always take the positives out of my other career, because my other career I did in security for almost 24 years. A lot of those skills really helped me transition into media. And when you were at T-Mobile for 3 decades, what skills did you develop from T-Mobile in your time with their company?
Oh my gosh, there are so many. The first one that jumps out at me is leadership, because we can, study, read articles about leadership and, know all the frameworks and all of that. But leadership is really a practice. It's an activity, something that happens between people as they influence one another toward a shared outcome. And I'm so grateful that I had the opportunity to grow and to practice leadership. And create my own leadership approach. And so that's probably the number one skill. The second thing is curiosity. And, and as I shared, in a couple other forums, my path was different. I was so sure I would continue into a PhD in clinical psychology, and I was so sure that was my path. But I was also at the same time growing my career at T-Mobile. And then I realized, like, I basically blew up my life. I left the clinical psychology path and went all in on T-Mobile. And part of that was chasing a curiosity about technology, about platforms and systems, things that I had not traditionally studied, but I was curious about. And that curiosity took me really far. It got me to learning and discovering, making mistakes and learning from them. And it just took me into a career that I absolutely loved. I think the third skill that I think became even more important around the pandemic is how to work with people in a geographically diverse organization, how to work with people who are across the country or different parts of the world and still create that sense of team and culture where everyone feels included. And that's really hard when there isn't like the typical, water cooler moments to have a conversation in the break room, because one person may be in Seattle and another one in Tampa and another person in the Philippines. How do you create that connection? And I did get to learn a lot about virtual team building and connecting with people in that way. That continues to serve me with, my coaching work, because most of my clients are virtual. And also even maintaining and sustaining deep friendships with people that I don't get to see every day or even every month.
Flo, in your opinion, what makes a good leader, and how would you describe yourself as a leader?
Oh, those are good questions. So I'll start with what makes a good leader is an attitude of service and shared power. And, power may seem like a charged word, but power is really important in leadership. And I don't necessarily mean coercive power and where someone holds power over another person, but power is about influence, right? And so a strong leader, a good leader is able to share power and empower other people, help people connect with the power within them, and together co-create a shared vision, a shared strategy, and a way forward so that everyone can see themselves connected to the work that is happening. So that what's happening is not just to benefit one individual or a few individuals, but everyone who's part of the team or the organization. So that kind of leadership, it really is a service. It is an act of service, and of using power for good and helping other people connect with the power within them and sharing that power. For me, as a leader, it's really tough, but I would describe my leadership style as authentic leadership. And what I mean by authentic leadership is not necessarily just blurting out everything, recklessly, but it is about being really grounded in one's values and purpose and being consistent words and actions. So for me, authenticity is really important in leadership, as well as service. I do see the way that I lead as a service, and that informs how I also serve my clients, the leaders that come to me for leadership support.
What are your thoughts on toxic leaders and toxic work environments? I know what it's like to be in one of them, and
Mhm.
I also know what it's like to have supervisors and managers belittle you too.
Yeah, that is tough. And that when we see a leader or hear of a leader that puts down or belittles someone else, that's where we start to get into coercive leadership, like using, in a sense, almost like punishment, and disregarding someone's dignity as a way to motivate them into action, and that is just terrible leadership. I do challenge the term toxic leaders, though, because I believe that what makes a toxic environment, where we see reduced communication, apathy, mistrust, and those kinds of symptoms, it's usually in the culture and in the environment that enables leaders who misbehave to essentially run the place. And so when I hear of toxicity, my mind goes not necessarily first to the leader, it goes to what is the culture that a group of leaders have created in which people feel the need to resort to coercion or disrespect and those kinds of misbehaviors that are harmful to people's well-being and harmful really to even the organization's bottom line.
A lot of people I've talked to the last 10 years have left a lot of jobs, not because per se the job itself, but because of a toxic boss, a toxic work environment. And it seems like a lot of companies, not just in Canada, but this is kind of an international issue where companies are more focused on profits than they are about having a good, healthy work environment. And they don't realize when an environment's toxic, you're not going to give your best effort to their clients and guests. And to me, that's a mistake. Obviously, you can't have for a perfect work environment, but when it's toxic, it's not good for your business long term.
It absolutely not. And I'll pull from, I don't remember the exact number off the top of my head right now, but Gallup does a state of the workplace report every year. And they look at workplaces and survey people all across the globe. And what's interesting is that the latest report that just came out, I want to say a month or two ago, showed that employee engagement is still below 30%. That means that in most organizations, only less than a third of employees are engaged. What is very even more concerning, though, is that managers are even less engaged, and manager engagement is trending in the wrong direction. So what does that tell us? That tells us that something is happening and that managers are feeling it. And so if a manager, if a leader is not engaged, if they're feeling disconnected, if they're feeling mistrust and burnout, that's going to show up in how they interact with the people that they lead, the people in their care. And of course, that will also continue to make ripples throughout the organization. When there is a lack of trust, which there is a relationship between engagement and trust, when there is a lack of trust, we start to see less communication, less dialogue, less creativity. But when there is engagement and there is trust, we see creativity, innovation. People bring their best ideas. We start to feel psychological safety that allows people to bring their ideas, to even raise, the orange or red flag when they see something is wrong, to engage in creative work, to collaborate, all of those things that translate into high performance and benefit the organization's bottom line, whether an organization's bottom line is profit or something social or something else. Either way, like all the roads lead to that. It is so important to look at the disengagement, including in people in leadership, to right things, to turn the corner of this trend that we're in right now.
And do you find also when you're in a toxic work environment in a toxic company that creativity shrinks too?
It absolutely does shrink. And without getting too deep into this, when a person feels a sense of threat, and we all know what that threat feels like.
Yep.
You're walking down the street late at night and hyper alert of listening and vision really sharp, right? You might feel your heartbeat a little faster. You might feel your breath quicken. Those kinds of things that our body is having a response to make us alert because we're sensing danger. We can experience a similar response in the workplace when we feel a sense of threat, when we feel like our safety, psychological or physical, is compromised, when there is uncertainty about our status, our relationships, all of those things. So the same way that our bodies go into action mode when we're worried about physical danger, the same thing can happen in the workplace. The challenge with that, and that's our bodies doing what they're supposed to do. The challenge that creates is that as our body activates preparing for a threat response, we have less energy and resources available for things like critical thinking or emotional regulation. And those systems that we need to do our best work start to take a back seat. And then our sympathetic nervous system is hyperactivated. And the result is that we're reactive, we jump in, or we hold back, and we don't have as much available to think creatively. And essentially creating a place where there's a constant sense of threat and that kind of a culture, let's call it a toxic culture, we're making it harder for people to do their best work.
Do you find more and more people in their companies nowadays, from your perspective, are playing small, where they just don't want to be seen? They just want to keep small?
There's a combination, and I'm seeing two things, and I'm seeing this in conversations with friends and with clients. Yes, there is some of that. People who are playing safer because it's what they feel that is necessary in this employment economy. And so taking less risk, feeling like they have to be extra polished before speaking up so that as to not raise any flags. Then I'm also seeing the opposite. People who are investing very much in their personal brands, and they're being very thoughtful and intentional in putting themselves out there. And so there's sort of like a camp of people who are shrinking back a bit to play safe and not put themselves in a situation where they might feel threat. But then there are people who are doing the complete opposite and being intentional in crafting their professional identity and getting their name out there and what they offer so that they're always top of mind. Between the two, and both have their pros and cons, I encourage people to go the route of taking ownership of their ideas and what they have to offer and being more vocal and visible so that they can build their personal brands, not only in their place of work, but beyond that place of work.
Flo, what are your thoughts? Do you find bullying and belittling has increased due to the internet and social media? And do you feel it's a good idea for coworkers to be on everyone else's social media pages?
Oh, that is loaded. So I like data. I don't have data that I can rely on to say, that I do think that bullying has increased on social media. Anecdotally, it seems like it has. I remember growing up, I didn't have to think about that because I didn't even have a cell phone growing up. I didn't even have a pager. But almost everything now is recorded and put out there. Like even when I publish a LinkedIn, post, I have to be really thoughtful about what I'm putting out there and how it will be received because it's perpetually out there forever. And because of that, I do see that just from anecdotally that there is more bullying, there is more putting down, and it's almost like treat the screen as an armor that keeps us at a safe distance from someone else, and it's easier to throw cheap shots. On the flip side, I can tell you that I've experienced a little bit of that myself in my business social media, and I have to remember that while someone else's words may feel hurtful or in the moment, it's someone who doesn't really know me very well. And so I can take that with a grain of salt. Now, the other question about should coworkers be connected on social media, that is such a personal choice. And like me, I've built, working almost 3 decades at T-Mobile, I have so many deep friendships that were born and forged and carry on beyond the organization. And so I was connected with many of my coworkers on social media, happy to. But that's also such a personal decision. I've encountered, coworkers who just had a very hard line, and it is important to respect that, to respect every person's boundaries and approach to social media, and to remember that social media is not everything. Just because 2 people are not connected on Instagram or TikTok or whatever doesn't mean that there isn't a meaningful relationship there.
100% agree with you there too. Flo, if you're still good for time, I just wanted to get your thoughts and just see if you could tell our audience a little more about yourself and the latest with all of Embrace Leadership Coaching you founded in 2023. What's some of the latest you're working on?
Happy to. And so I love this work. And just to share with everyone, I primarily work with experienced leaders who want to increase their impact and self-authority. I also serve emerging leaders who want to break into management, and mid-career professionals who they want to know what's next. Maybe you've been in your role for a long time or your career in a long time and feel the itch for a change. And that's where I love to serve. And my work is to help leaders and professionals like discover and maximize their potential professionally and personally. And what's happening in my work, I continue to serve clients one-on-one. If anyone's interested, please feel free to reach out to me. Would love to chat with you. And also doing some work with organizations and teams where we can talk about trust, what trust means, how to build it, and how to infuse it into a culture to have that high-performing team where there is a sense of safety and creativity and innovation and not having to hide because of toxicity.
Flo, I've had a number of guests on my show over the years and volunteering public speaking. And I've talked to a number of people who have switched careers later in life, maybe not my age, 53, but they've switched in their 40s. And I've even had people in their 60s switch careers. Do you find more and more people now are going through more career switches?
Yes, that's what I'm seeing. I'm seeing career switches or people who are thinking about it or feeling it, but maybe are not yet ready to act. And I think that's a byproduct of as complexity and uncertainty increase and organizations change. And of course, digital technologies and AI and automation are a part of that. As organizations change, people's relationships with work are changing too. The traditional way of starting in an organization, working your way up, and spending 30, 40 years there and then retiring has changed. And yeah, it's gone, right? It still exists in some industries, but it's mostly gone. And I think that shift is nudging people to think about their careers, not only in terms of an organization or a career or profession, but to think about what they want to do. And every person has the absolute right to consider what they want to do and their purpose. We don't always get to do exactly what we want to do all the time, but why not be curious and investigate and do the reflection to understand what inspires you, what drives you, what are your strengths, what are your values, and create that sort of compass to guide career decisions, whether the decision is to completely do a 180 and do something else, or after the exploration you might find that you are exactly where you want to be or need to be for the moment. But every person, deserves to wonder and to explore what's under the surface and make it conscious.
Do you find nowadays trust in society has diminished?
It has, and it definitely has. It's harder to trust. Some of the institutions that people relied on are changing. It's harder to trust. It's harder to trust on the certainty we used to rely on in organizations. It is getting harder to trust. And also, as we focus so much on speed and continue to cut corners on moments of connection, it's getting harder to have those moments where oxytocin is triggered and we feel that connection and affinity with someone else. And without that, it is much harder to trust. I'm even more concerned about how self-trust is being eroded. And I'm seeing this in conversations with leaders, with colleagues, and people in general, that we're questioning ourselves more. And it is good to have a healthy question and introspection. But what I'm noticing is people almost like losing their confidence as the world continues to spin faster and change so quickly, and the ground feels like it's moving from underneath us. I'm seeing people lose some of their own self-trust, and that is concerning. And part of my work is to help people reconnect with themselves and to learn to trust themselves again.
Flo, I was going to play a video from your YouTube channel from the International Coaching Federation event. How can people find you on YouTube and social media?
Oh, so my favorite place, I hang out on LinkedIn 6.5 days a week. Flo LaBrado on LinkedIn. On Instagram, I'm at Olive and Grace Leadership. Those are the primary places to find me. And to find more information about me, I'm at oliveandgraceleadership.com.
And I'm going to play this video from your little speech here. And please let me know if you can hear the audio. I'm the audio guy too, so just bear with me 1 second. And I've got it at the when you just step on here. And this is from Central Florida Charter Chapter. So we're going to play this clip right now. Thank you, Flo, for sending me this link.
Happy to.
Hi, I'm Flo LaBrado. In 2004, as I walked toward the Rick Thomas parking garage here on this very campus, I said to myself, I don't want to do this anymore. I was near the end of my undergraduate studies here at the University of Tampa, very close to my BA in psychology, doing all the things I was supposed to do. I had just presented at a social psychology conference. I had high grades. I had great recommendations lined up. My path to a PhD in clinical psychology was clear. I had been building toward it for years. At the same time, I worked full-time as a systems analyst at T-Mobile, and I was doing well there, but I was exhausted. I had this overwhelming sense that clinical psychology was not it. And so, just months away from graduation, I blew up my life. I quit the graduate school path and I went all in on technology. But I couldn't tell you why. The first half of my career in product and program leadership, leading teams at the intersection of people and technology, I was successful. My teams performed and delivered meaningful results, but I was exhausted again. I did everything I was supposed to do, burning enormous amounts of energy to the point of burning out. And I felt like I was constantly fighting myself, trying to fit into a shape that was not mine. Again, I couldn't tell you why. I didn't yet know about the power of coaching. Like many people, I believed that coaching was only available to leaders and executives in high positions and not to me. Thankfully, I learned otherwise. Working with a wonderful coach, I got to understand the things that were underneath, to bring to consciousness what I didn't yet understand. Yet, there was more. My first discovery were my personal values: love, respect, and openness. They had always been there, but I had never named them. Articulating them helped me to understand consciously what's important to me and the kind of leader that I wanted to be. Also, it helped me to understand the friction that I had felt for so long trying to fit inside someone else's values. It doesn't work very well for leadership. My second discovery was my purpose that was deep within my heart, my mind, my body, and my spirit. Working with a very supportive coach, I came to understand that my purpose in this world is to be a catalyst for human connection and for love. That awareness transformed everything. I stopped seeing work as my purpose and started to see it as an expression of my purpose, along with every other area of my life. I stopped trying to fit, and I started to lead and live with integrity. And my authentic leadership style finally emerged. All the energy that I had wasted trying to fit became available energy for impact. My teams went from good to great. We transformed platforms. We elevated the customer experience. We returned hundreds of millions of dollars in revenue and operational savings. And all of that was rooted in teamwork and commitment to human connection and meaningful work. Yet, with even more leadership success, I felt a pull, this quiet knowing that something was almost right, but not fully aligned. And when I considered the connection between all of my interests, psychology, art, leadership, organizational development, technology, what I saw in the overlap of that Venn diagram is coaching, working with leaders, working with teams, working one-on-one.
Anyways, Flo, thoughts on this video that you did at Central Florida?
Thank you so much. And this was from the International Coach Federation. We have a chapter here in Central Florida, and we did an inaugural Coach X as part of International Coaching Week, and it was such a wonderful event. And that was just such a really good opportunity for me to share more about my own transition from doing the things I was supposed to do on autopilot to becoming self-aware and making choices based on who I am as a person and how I wanted to live and how I wanted to lead and serve. And that was just such a beautiful moment to be able to share about how leadership coaching helped me and how it also inspired me to also want to serve people in a similar way. It was such a wonderful evening.
Flo, how would you describe yourself as a public speaker?
As a public speaker, I'll tell you, I am not the most polished public speaker, but I do speak from the heart. For example, that talk took me probably a whole 20 minutes to write the first draft. And it was because it was from the heart. It wasn't something that I had to research. And when I get to share about something that I very much care about, or I see that it is in service of other people, it is just so much easier. So as a speaker, I am going to be very real, very authentic, and I worry less about polish, and I'm more concerned about connecting with the person that I'm trying to reach.
Here's a fun fact about me. For many decades, including elementary school, high school, college, before I got into security, I would shrink in public speaking. I would be the kid that sat in the back classroom. I would just try to play small and avoid going up in front of the class. And now that I'm 53, I'm very comfortable in front of a camera and talking to people. And basically, I just share from my heart. I don't have a piece of paper with a script. I basically speak from my experiences and from my heart. And I think people can relate to what I'm talking to as a speaker.
Yeah, I agree with that, because it is, and that's a key word, to be able to relate. And for me, whether like at the Coach X event, or last year I served on a panel in which we talked about leadership for entrepreneurs, or at a UiPath event, we talked about automation in contact centers, and all, whatever the context, when I focus on being able to relate and to connect with the person that the word is for, then it becomes less about polish or what we consider professionalism, and about the bottom line of communication, which is that creating that shared meaning.
100%. Flo, if you still got a couple more minutes, I have a few more questions. I wanted to get your thoughts on this subject, and I'm guilty of been doing it for years. What are your thoughts on people pleasing and shrinking for others, and how can you change that mindset?
That's really hard. People pleasing is, I think it's important to get clear. Is it really people pleasing, or is it someone who just really cares about other people? And it's important to do the work to discover and uncover what's there. Those people pleasing and other habits and ways of being. First, we shouldn't, just dog them. Oftentimes, they're adaptive behaviors that we created in order to cope and to move through this world. And that adaptability is something to be celebrated. Now, adaptive behaviors, when overused, can also get us in trouble. And some of the work there to be done is to understand, not only, it's not just about why the people pleasing happens, but also to understand what are the triggers and what that people pleasing satisfies for the individual, and identify more balanced ways to satisfy that need without leaning into people pleasing so much that it builds resentment and leads to burnout.
I'm going to put you on the spot with this next question. What is next? What is next on your bucket list for Olive and Grace leadership coaching in 2026?
Thank you for that. So in 2026, what is next is I traditionally only serve about 10 client engagements at a time, and I am increasing that. So now that I have more room to serve more clients, I'm excited. I would love to connect with more people and see if I can be of service. And then also getting to spend more time connecting with and serving in different ways. For example, with Winners Lacrosse Tampa, a nonprofit organization that makes lacrosse free, totally free for kids, doing some work there, and continuing to do work with the International Coaching Federation Central Florida chapter, and increasing outreach to see how we can better serve leaders and business owners in the community. So I'm really excited about continuing to grow my leadership coaching work and also serving.
What's the best way for someone that's watching our show live stream or on audio of contacting you in case they're interested in your leadership and coaching company?
Yeah, I'd love to hear from you. If anyone wants to reach out to me and connect on LinkedIn, I'm there, Flo LaBrado. And also, if you go to my website, oliveandgraceleadership.com, the first thing that you'll see is a button for connecting. Would love to chat with you, whether Zoom or by phone, so that we can learn. I'd love to hear about your where you are now in your leadership and career journey, what your challenges are, and see if I can be of service.
All your sessions are virtually, correct?
Almost all. I do have some clients that are local here in Tampa. And so sometimes my local clients like to meet in person, and I'm available for that. But almost all of my sessions are virtual, either using Zoom and sometimes by phone.
On average, what's a typical session like? About 30 minutes, 40 minutes?
Yeah, most of my sessions are 60 minutes, and we spend a few minutes catching up on what's happened from the previous session. We establish the topic and the goal for that specific session, and we do the work, whether it is exploring from different angles, perspectives, challenging, reframing. I serve as a thought partner, and then take whatever is learned from that session and turn it into action to continue the forward movement after the session. But definitely, usually almost every session is 60 minutes.
What makes Olive and Grace leadership coaching stand out from the others?
That's a good question. I'll tell you what I offer. And there's so many wonderful leadership coaches that I have so much respect for them. What I offer is my approach is rooted in real world experience, spending, over 25 years leading teams in a large organization. I also blend that experience with scientific principles and coaching skills, so that I'm coaching someone from coming from a place of experience, but also it is not about me. The work that I do is about the client that I'm serving. And so my work is informed by training and experience to be able to create that space where a leader or professional can let their guard down, explore, think, reframe, be challenged, and leave energized and ready for growth.
How satisfying is it being able to help other people?
It is my deepest honor. And, it's not, I don't do the work. I create the container, but the individual does the work. And it is so cool when I get a message from someone who says, "Hey, I got the job," or my team is more engaged, or I feel more confident, or I'm speaking up in meetings, or I was able to complete that organizational change. When I see those results, when I hear about those results, I just feel so grateful that I get to serve in this way. It is my deepest honor.
How would you describe yourself as a coach in one word?
I challenge. Yes, I challenge.
What is a fun fact about yourself and the state of Florida?
Oh, about me, I think that I still love Harry Potter very much. I'm a Hufflepuff. I will talk about that all day. And about the state of Florida, I wouldn't say it's a fun fact, but we're really not as wild as it seems in the media. Where it's just, of course, you hear about certain things, but Florida is just wonderful to have sunshine and the ocean and rivers all really close. It's just so much fun to live here.
Now, I was hearing on social media yesterday, and I'm not sure if it was not fake or not because it's hard nowadays, but they said parts of Florida had an earthquake yesterday.
Yes. And so the earthquake, I believe it wasn't here. I believe it was somewhere, I don't know if it was the Gulf of Mexico or deeper in the Atlantic, but there were parts of Florida that felt some of it. I didn't feel any of it. It was probably further southwest, but yeah, there were tremors that were felt in Florida.
And when is typical hurricane season in Florida? Is it usually between now and November?
Yes, we are in it. It started June 1st. It ends November 30th, already counting down the days. But it is most active, between August and October. And so with the sunshine also comes the risk, and he's got to be prepared for it.
And finally, this is a new segment on my show. It's called Ask the Host CDP. Do you have a question or two to put me on the hot seat?
I have one to put you on the hot seat, Chris. What is up next for you?
I would like to continue to interview celebrities, continue to build my show, build my brand. I would like to get more companies to advertise and not just sponsor, because the word sponsor to me means they're giving you money for nothing. I call it advertising, where somebody compensates me and advertises on my show. So basically, to answer your question, I want to continue to grow this show, grow my brand, and market myself. And I was able to interview some celebrities at the Niagara Falls Comic Con Friday. Lou Ferrigno, who played the Hulk, Vicki Lawrence, who was on the Carol Burnett show, and I interviewed a couple of actors from the Back to the Future movie, which I thought was cool. Jason Hervey, who's been on many shows, he actually approached me about doing an interview. So I just want to continue to do what I'm doing. I love what I'm doing, and it's the guests that make the show. And I try to make the focus always on my guests and not on myself.
Well, I'm rooting for you, Chris.
Well, thank you so much. And I really appreciate you coming back on the show again for a second time. And hopefully we can get you back on a third time in the future as well.
Yeah, happy to. Thank you so much for having me. I always have so much fun talking with you.
Can you give me a little bit of time tonight, and I will send you the audio, the video, and some reels and clips. Now, if you want the full video of this, I can email it to you via WeTransfer. So I'm not sure if you want to do that or not, or to put on your website.
Yeah, up to you. Just let me know.
Okay, I will email you this on WeTransfer. WeTransfer is great. It shrinks the files down, and then all you have to do is download it.
Awesome. I'll take it.
Speaking of that, I'm now 5'5", by the way. So next time you see me, I'll be 5'2".
Oh gosh.
I try to be funny. But hey, finally, again, where can our audience follow you on social media, your website, and again, the best way of contacting you at Olive and Grace Leadership Coaching, and any plans for your own merchandise in the future?
Oh my gosh. So they can, LinkedIn is probably the best place to find me. Flo LaBrado, Instagram, Olive and Grace Leadership, and my website also oliveandgraceleadership.com. And no merchandise. Have thought about it, but no merch yet.
And hopefully one day you'll be able to come and visit Canada. Come see me in Canada, Toronto.
That would be dope. That would be great to meet in person.
Absolutely. So if you ever do come here, please let me know.
For sure.
All right. Well, Flo, I want to say thank you so much again for giving us an hour of your time, for coming back on. Continued success, and we'll definitely keep in touch. And I will send you the audio, the video, and I'll break this into reels and clips, which is the on-air stuff is the easy part. It's the before and after stuff. That's where the work is.
Of course.
So, but I love what I'm doing, and I can tell that you love doing what you're doing as well. And thank you so much for coming on today, Flo, and we'll talk to you very soon.
Thank you, Chris.
Thanks, Flo. All right, everyone, that wraps up season 14, episode 3, overall 718 of Live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk Show, brought to you by our friends at Barry Cullen Chevrolet Dealership here in Guelph. I have another special announcement to make. The next Live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk Show by BarryCullen.com is going to take place on Wednesday, June 10th at 2 p.m. Eastern with special guest Jen Richardson, a stand-up comedian out of Windsor, Ontario. So if you're a fan of comedians, fan of humor, check out Jen Richardson, who's making her first appearance on our show tomorrow, Wednesday, June 10th at 2 o'clock with Jen Richardson. She is a stand-up comedian out of Windsor, and I'm excited for that show as well. And I have more shows coming up this week and next week as well. So bear with me. I'll have more announcements to make on some more of my upcoming guests and show as well. By the way, guys, check out my Toronto Argonauts social media content. I was at the Argos practice today at the University of Guelph at Alumni Stadium. And again, thank you to Chris Belnovich, the manager of media communications. I interviewed Demetrius Maxey, a former CFL player, now the defensive line coach and assistant head coach for the Toronto Argonauts. I will be posting that interview very soon. And I also interviewed one of their young running backs too. The running back's name is, I believe it's Hicks. His running back, his name is Hicks, and he is from Fort Worth, Texas, Abilene Christian College, and he is going to be the Argos feature running back in their opening game against the Sam Hicks, that's his name. Sam Hicks. He will be wearing number 25 for the Argonauts, and he'll be a big factor for this Argonauts team as well. So please check out my Argos interviews with Sam Hicks, running back and defensive line coach and assistant head coach and former CFL player, four-time Grey Cup champion, Demetrius Maxey. So Demetrius Maxey, Sam Hicks, please look for those interviews tonight on my social media pages. And again, the Argonauts are back in action Friday, June 12th, 7:30, Argos Alouettes. Game is on TSN, or you can listen to TSN 1050 with Mike Hogan and Ben Grant on the call from McGill University in Montreal. And looking forward to that. And we got CFL on Thursday. The Hamilton Tiger Cats take on the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. So this is a great time of the year right now. You got the Stanley Cup finals going on, the NBA finals going on, Major League Baseball going on, and we've got the return of the CFL as well. And speaking of the NHL Stanley Cup finals, game 4 tonight. Carolina at Vegas, 8 o'clock. Vegas leads that series 2-1, but that series could easily be 3-0 for Carolina as well. I still think Carolina is going to beat Vegas in 7 games. So mark my words, Carolina over Vegas in 7. And I still think the Spurs are going to beat the Knicks in 7 games too. So I'm predicting the Spurs and the Hurricanes to win in 7 games in both of their sports as well. And that is about it for today's show, guys. As we wrap up this show again, you can follow my guest, Flo LaBrado, on these social media pages. Her website is oliveandgraceleadership.com, oliveandgraceleadership.com. She is also on LinkedIn at Flo LaBrado, and she can be reached at flolablado@gmail.com. And she's also on Instagram under Olive and Grace Leadership. So thank you to Flo LaBrado for coming. Flo LaBrado for coming on here today. I still have a bit of a cold. And as we finally reach up the show, guys, check out a 2027 Chevrolet Bolt. It is Canada's lowest price electric vehicle, EV, that has over 400 kilometers of estimate range, starting price at $39,999 MSRP. The 2027 Chevrolet Bolt LT offers up to 422 of estimate range. For more information about the 2027 Chevy Bolt LT, visit Barry Cullen Chevrolet dealership at 905 Woodlawn Road West in the Gulf Mall, or check out their website, barrycullen.com, or give them a call at 519-824-0210. And again, Barry Cullen Chevrolet is the proud advertiser of Live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk Show. And as we wrap up the show, guys, if you'd like a personalized video message from yours truly, CDP, go to cameo.com, type in Chris Palme. I do happy birthday, happy anniversary, happy Hanukkah, congratulations. If you want to ask me questions about my 3 talk shows, my media work, some of my favorite interviews, again, go to cameo.com, type in Chris Palme, and book your Cameo today, and I look forward to hearing from you. You can also follow me on Blue Sky Social. Blue Sky Social is what Twitter X used to be like. At Live with CDP19 on Blue Sky Social. Again, at Live with CDP19 on Blue Sky Social. You're looking to adopt a pet, check out the Cambridge District Humane Society located at 1650 Dunbar Road in Cambridge, Ontario. Telephone number 519-623-7722, extension 0, or visit their website, cambridgehumanesociety.org. All the pets and animals that are up for adoption, their profiles and pictures and information is on cambridgehumanesociety.org. And there's a dog down there right now, a lot of great, wonderful dogs down there, like Cookies and also Duncan. Dogs like Cookies and Duncan, Blue. There's a lot of wonderful dogs down there. So if you're looking to adopt, no better place than the Cambridge District Humane Society. At the Cambridge District Humane Society, you can't buy happiness, but you can adopt it. And Michelle and her staff do a wonderful job down there as well. And I am a proud volunteer down at the Cambridge District Humane Society. I go down there twice a week, walking dogs and fundraise as well. If you also want to help the Cambridge District Humane Society, go to their website, cambridgehumanesociety.org, buy one of their 50/50 tickets, or you can also go on to their Amazon wish list, which is through their website, cambridgehumanesociety.org. So again, if you're looking for a pet, furry friend, check out the Cambridge District Humane Society. It's right across from the Cambridge Center Mall. They do a wonderful job there at the Cambridge District Humane Society. Live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk Show is live streamed on YouTube, Facebook, X, Twitch, LinkedIn, and now available on Instagram, and hopefully one day on TikTok as soon as I figure that out. You can check out my up-to-date website at beacons.ai/Christy Palme, or my social media sites that are there. My past talk show episodes are there. And if you want to check out my media content and some of my game night stories, go to beacons.ai/Christy Palme. And some of my best talk shows and some of my best in-person interviews are on beacons.ai/Christy Palme. You can also follow this content creator on TikTok you can follow me on TikTok at Chris Palme. Follow, like, and share. And I want to say thank you to my 1,800 plus followers there as well. And I do have a lot of Niagara Falls Comic Con content on my TikTok page. So go to TikTok at Chris Palme to check out my latest content. StreamYard is the official live stream provider of Live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk Show. If you're into webinars, live streaming, podcasting, go to StreamYard.com. They have basic free plans, paid professional plans like I have. Or if you're a business that does a lot of webinars or live streaming, go to StreamYard.com and contact their sales department for prices as well. Live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk Show, the audio version is on these platforms: iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, Spotify for podcasters, Apple Podcasts, Breaker, Pocket Casts, Spotify, Castbox, LinkedIn, Pandora, Tuned In, YouTube Music, and Good Pods. Please subscribe, like, and share. And I do have 82 countries around the world listening to this show. So thank you for listening to Live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk Show. And finally, guys, you can email me at Live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk Show at cpalme19@gmail.com. Any comments, questions, suggestions, feedback would be greatly appreciated. And also, if you'd like to support my YouTube channel and my 3 talk shows and my media work, you really like my content, my YouTube channel, I am on PayPal. Go to paypal.com at Chris Palme if you'd like to contribute to my YouTube channel and my media work, or you can support me through a personalized video message through cameo.com/Chris Palme as well. And finally, guys, you can follow me on Facebook, X, Threads, Instagram, LinkedIn, everywhere except Snapchat. And also, guys, make sure you check out my YouTube channel, Chris Palme Live with CDP Talk Show. Subscribe, like, and share. And I also have a YouTube short. So there's a lot of YouTube short videos I have there as well. So I want to say thank you to my 861 subscribers and to my 754,000 plus viewers. My next goal is to get to 1,000 YouTube subscribers. I'm only 139 away from that. So please, if you haven't, subscribe to my YouTube channel. And also my next goal, besides to get to 1,000 subscribers, is to get to 1 million view. And I'm now just at 750,000. So I just under 250,000 more views for 1 million. So those are my goals for the rest of this year, is to get to 1,000 YouTube subscribers and to 1 million views. And again, thank you to everyone for subscribing and watching my YouTube channel as well. And that is about it tonight, guys. We got the NHL Stanley Cup playoffs going on tonight, 8 o'clock, Vegas and Carolina. Vegas is up 2-1 in that series. And the NBA Finals resume, I believe, on Wednesday night, Game 4, Spurs and Knicks. New York's up 2-1 in that as well. And I do have another comment here. It is spam, so we'll just leave that there as well. So again, thank you to my guest, Flo LaBrado, for coming on here. And thank you to the audience for watching and listening to this show. And again, to Barry Cullen Chevrolet Dealership for being a part of this show as an advertiser as well. And if you're owning a business and a company and you'd like to advertise it on a platform like mine, which is on 22 platforms, you can email me at cpalme19@gmail.com or DM me on my social media pages. My prices are very reasonable and competitive, and I can do a lot to advertise your business and company on Live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk Show as well. The Small Talk podcast with Marlene Sharp and myself will return for season 4, episode 6 at the end of June. Guest to be announced. And the Argo Bounce podcast show with Nick Small and myself will be back soon, either this week before the Montreal game on Friday night, or after it as well. So look forward to the Argo Bounce podcast show, which I'm going to do once a week with Nick now that the CFL season has started, and the Small Talk podcast once a month entertainment show I do with Marlene Sharp as well. Again, thank you to Flo LaBrado for coming on here. And my next Live with CDP Sports Entertainment Talk show is going to be tomorrow, Wednesday, June 10th, 2 p.m. Eastern, with special guest Jen Richardson, a stand-up comedian out of Windsor, Ontario. I hope everybody has a great night. Thanks again for watching and listening to Live with CDP Sports Entertainment Talk Show, hosted by yours truly, Chris Palme, and brought to you by Barry Cullen Chevrolet Dealership here in Guelph. Good night, everybody.